end, and hopefully we can share that at the end of my speech. Okay, so our green hydrogen project in Mongolia is called Gobi H2. We believe it's the first green hydrogen project in the country. A green hydrogen project is one where the hydrogen is produced from renewable electrical energy sources. It's been developed by us, who has long-standing experience in the country, largely derived from our natural gas exploration project. We received a significant boost to the project in the middle of last year when we signed an MOU with Japan's SoftBank Group, who've been a long-time investor in this country, primarily through the Setsi wind farm. The ownership of that Japanese partner changed earlier this year, with Japan's Toyota Tsusho taking control of what was SoftBank Energy. So we procured a pre-feasibility study into this project from a global firm called AECOM earlier this year, and that gave us the confidence to progress our partnership with our Japanese partner to a term sheet and hopefully ultimately to a formal joint venture. In the course of this year, green hydrogen infrastructure projects in the neighbouring China have included the development of a pipeline network commencing in Inner Mongolia, and we could see it eminently feasible in the medium to long term that that network could expand northwards into the country of Mongolia itself. Okay, the location provides ready access to growing Chinese hydrogen markets, which, based on our observation, is currently the largest hydrogen market in the world, and we believe that if the government commits to its net zero targets by 2060, that will become an enormous hydrogen market, so large in fact that our expert advisors Rystad from Norway, who we commissioned to undertake a study on this, concluded that China would need to import hydrogen and that there is no better placed country than Mongolia to do that. Indeed, supplies from the country of Mongolia would far more competitively reach East Coast energy markets than would, for instance, hydrogen supplies from Tibet or Xinjiang or other places in Western China. Regional hydrogen transmission infrastructure is already emerging, so we see on the map there in the purple dotted line a project that Sinopec announced earlier this year to construct a 400-kilometre pipeline ultimately to Beijing, and we see it feasible that that could extend westwards and northwards in the medium to longer term. Okay, what do you need for a successful hydrogen project? Firstly, you need high-quality renewable energy resources, and based on our analysis, Mongolia has Tier 1 renewable resources globally. That's as good as we've seen anywhere. You need the cost of renewable installations to be fairly cheap, and clearly Mongolia's proximity to China, which supplies most of the world's solar panels and a good part of the wind turbines, provides a cost-competitive advantage. Now, there's no point having a hydrogen project unless it's green. It needs to be certified as such before customers will be satisfied, and we believe our project here can achieve that. Proximity to market is fundamental. Hydrogen is very, very expensive to move, and this is the key competitive advantage of our project in southern Mongolia. Access to capital is required, and we've been engaging with the IFIs who are based here over a number of years, and they are very supportive of this type of project. I skipped operational skills. We've been working in the Gobi for quite a number of years. We engage with SUMs, AMAGs, regulators, ministries. All those things are equally relevant to developing a hydrogen project as they are to a gas project. Now, scalability is key. Hydrogen demand just now is low. Our plans are to undertake a pilot project to demonstrate viability, but in the medium to longer term, we see that the opportunity here is enormous. The renewable energy resources are effectively infinite, and the ability to deploy capital is massive. Tens of billions of dollars could be spent on this over the decades to come. That is, to put it in a Mongolian context, there could be multiple OTs from green hydrogen projects in the decades to come. Okay, so delivery costs. This is, in my view, the key competitive advantage. Now, the cost of hydrogen is fairly easily split up. About 2/3 the cost of renewable energy, about 1/3 the cost of electrolyzers. All operational costs are effectively trivial. And then once you've actually produced it, how do you get it to a customer? Now, hydrogen is very difficult and very expensive to move. So therefore, if you are near customers, you have a massive advantage. Now, there are many projects around the world that are looking to export hydrogen by boat from countries like Australia or Chile or Namibia. Mongolia's advantage is that it could export by pipeline. And the cost differential here is enormous. To export natural gas from Australia to China costs about $4 or $5 a gigajoule. To export hydrogen will cost about $20 a gigajoule. To export it by pipeline from Mongolia will cost about $2 a gigajoule. So there's a clear order of magnitude difference, and that's a massive, massive competitive advantage for the country. So this table is a bit detailed. What the key point to note is the capacity electrolyzer utilization factor at the end. That's a simple signal of capital efficiency here. And what it basically means is that you want wind and sun to be complementary. In simple terms, you want it to be windy at night and windy in winter. And the more that is the case, the more efficient project you have got and the lower cost it will be. Now, we've compared Mongolia's wind and sun resources in the Gobi to other projects in the likes of southern Chile, Australia, and in Mongolia itself. And we came up with a capacity factor here that was unrivaled. So in addition to the locational advantages, the resource advantages in terms of the combination of wind and sun are unrivaled based on our analysis. So a pre-feasibility study that I mentioned was commissioned from AECOM. It evaluated multiple configurations of wind, sun, battery, and some grid connection. Key finding was no technical impediments were identified. The success or failure of the project will rest entirely on commercial factors, not on technical factors. We haven't disclosed the costs of this project. That's commercial in confidence to us, and we're engaging with potential off-takers in connection with what they would need to pay for the project to be viable. So green hydrogen certification is required. To date, globally, hydrogen is only used in niche applications such as in refineries. That hydrogen is typically made from coal and gas, and with a lot of greenhouse emissions. Green hydrogen and indeed blue hydrogen only makes sense if it reduces emissions, which requires certification. There are emerging standards in various jurisdictions, ranging from the US to the EU, to Australia and China itself, and we see convergence on those. In our view, our project would meet the standards required for green hydrogen to be certified anywhere in the world, and that's pretty much a must. Again, this is a bit of a busy slide, but what it's intended to show is the energy efficiency of moving energy from renewable energy sources in Mongolia to markets in China through various mechanisms. Now, that electrical energy can be turned into hydrogen, or it could just be transmitted by transmission line. Our conclusion is that the most energy efficient way of delivery is through conversion into hydrogen and then delivery by pipeline. So water is the key physical feedstock for the creation of hydrogen. And that is a concern that is often raised, and southern Mongolia is fairly arid. Is there enough water there to facilitate the production of green hydrogen? However, our analysis shows that the volumes of water required for hydrogen production are in fact lower than those already used for mining activities in the region, and planned for activities such as cooling the Tavan Tolgoi power station if one thinks that that will go ahead. There's substantial groundwater in the Gobi, and our view is that, for instance, the water that the OT currently uses could support a $15 billion hydrogen project, and there's plenty more water than that. So, project summary, I can just go back. So the two main drivers of green hydrogen project success are the quality of the resources. Mongolia is a world-class, proximity to market. The country's next door to the world's largest energy importer, and we think it will become a hydrogen importer too. So we think we've got a potential world-class project here. We're a small company, but we've had experience in Mongolia for quite a number of years. We're very pleased to be working with a large Japanese company, and many of you will have seen that Japan as a nation is very supportive of hydrogen developments, and its large companies are almost all involved in hydrogen projects somewhere. Our project will meet the regulatory requirements of green hydrogen as it evolves, and moving energy from here in the form of hydrogen to China is cheaper than moving it from anywhere else, and that's a pretty significant advantage. So now hopefully we'll show my short video, but it's always fingers crossed for these things at these sorts of events.